This is the Dollemore Daily, and I'm Jesse Dollemore. I'm not going to stop talking about the very real threat of violence posed by Republicans until there's no longer a threat, a very real threat of violence posed to America by Republicans. Candace Taylor, you may remember, a former gubernatorial candidate in Georgia, a flat earth nut, the woman who had the campaign bus that said, Jesus, guns and babies, some kind of a campaign slogan. Now she has a radio show, I guess, or a podcast, some kind of an online presence with a radio show or the show of the same name. Jesus, guns, and babies. And she was at Mike Lindell's symposium or his I'm going to save the world with these great ideas that really never really went anywhere. It roared with a fizzle. She's interviewed by a guy named William Wallis, except it's spelled Wallis, not like Braveheart. And they're talking about election interference. They're talking about how Donald Trump had the election stolen from him. She believes the election was stolen from her. She's a nobody who Brian Kemp beat handily, and she believes she actually won the election, or at least she used to. I don't know where she is on it now. And she invokes violent language surrounding the claims of fraud that don't exist. Or the claims exist, but the actuality of fraud, it just doesn't exist. And she's saying that we're going to come to a war, and I hope we get this resolved. Otherwise, we're going to have to go to the guns. And you might say to yourself, well, she's just a dum-dum. Clearly, she is a dum-dum. But people listen to her. She has a following. She obviously has a successful enough show that continues because she is drawing eyeballs. People look to her for truth. They look to her for how to feel and think. And if she's calling for violence, advocating for war, that's a problem. Watch this brief clip, minute 25 or so. We'll talk about some of the ideas on the other side.
But the reality is when they get full control of elections that, through machines or whatever, then they're going to be able to control any election, whether you're a Republican or a Democrat.
This is treason. This is a hijacking of our country. This is war. And I hope and pray it gets resolved before we use guns. I really do. I do not want to see bloodshed in America. But we're at war right now, a war for our freedom. Freedom of speech was just trampled on in Georgia. We had that DA in Fulton County that just filed 19 people indictments. She had some of the indictments, people had 10 indictments. So she just filed all these charges on electors, on President Trump, on his attorneys, on innocent people who were questioning they have a right to question the validity of an election with as many issues as we had in 2020. We have all the evidence, but nobody will hear it. Nobody will look at it. Everything gets thrown out. And it's real convenient that that's happening whenever it's a red state, this Republican state, and that governor is tweeting negatively about President Trump. It's amazing. He said how secure the election was.
That accent. People always ask me when I do a dumb guy accent or Tommy Tuberville, and they're like, hey, why are you maligning the Southern accent? Not everybody who speaks in that accent is an idiot. And I believe that. I fully understand that. But there's too many people like this for it not to be funny to use that accent. A woman who's befuddled by these basic terms, charges, counts, indictments. Fani Willis didn't bring 19 indictments. It was one indictment with 19. It just, come on. The accent is way over the top, flat earth lady. But this business here, that it is treason what is taking place. Again, befuddlement at what the words mean. But this is a hijacking of our country. This is war, and I hope and pray it gets resolved before we use guns. You notice it's only that side. It's only the Republican side that is advocating, that is using this language as a threat of civil war and guns and bloodshed if they don't get their way. Because they can't win at the ballot box. They can't win the hearts and minds of Americans relative to their policy choices. In fact, in poll after poll after poll, the radicalism of the Republican Party isn't resonating. In fact, it's turning voters off, especially young voters who are the next generation. They are going to be the lifeblood of every election going forward from 2024 on. But this abject nonsense about no one will listen, no one will hear us with our claims. I got all these affidavits. There were 60 court cases that this evidence was brought to, and they all dismissed the cases. They saw the evidence, they heard the evidence, they read the evidence, they bared witness to the wonderment of all the evidence they claimed they have, and they said, nah, not valid. Summarily dismissed. Easy out-of-hand dismissal. In fact, not only that, many lawyers are being disciplined, censured, disbarred, whether that be temporarily or permanently, losing their law licenses. Lynn Wood just gave up his law license in advance of it having been pulled. He just having it pulled from him, not pull like P-O-L-L. He just said, well, I guess it's time to retire. This is what's happening. But Candace Taylor and Jesus Gunn's baby, she's not here for that. She is living in her fantasy land, her conspiracy world where the earth is flat, and gunplay is something that Jesus would advocate for. On Stu Peters' network, another just clown show. Anyway, as always, I would invite your opinion, your take on this. If you live in Georgia, I really would like to know. 714-576-4054. Of course, as always, you can email me the old-fashioned way, daily@dollemore.com. If you appreciate what I do and you want to help support my work, you want to help produce this content, click the join button below. Look what's entailed in becoming a channel member for $1.99. You can do just that, become a channel member and support this program on an ongoing basis for $2 a month. You can hit the super thanks button as I run out of steam here and fail to be able to pronounce words. Hit the super thanks button or go over to patreon.com/IDoubtIt podcast. Follow me on social media. I'm everywhere at Dollemore. I'd love to see you there. It is sometimes terrible. Once in a while, there's a shining moment of good times. If you're on social media, I think you know what I'm talking about. Anyway, I love and appreciate you guys. Thanks for your engagement. I'll see you next time. Until I do, be genuine and take care of one another.